to put the decimal in where it belongs unless you pay very close attention to the video. So just make sure that, like, I'm going to show you how to move the decimal to where it needs to go, and then just do that same thing for every problem. That's kind of like the biggest part of today. Otherwise, division's the same, facts are the same, everything's the same. The only difference is the decimal is going to be in a different spot than it was if you were just dividing a decimal by a whole number. Okay. So we have a problem here. It's 0.66 or 66 hundredths divided by 0.3 or 3/10. The hardest part about like figuring out how to put the numbers today is that it's not really put the biggest number in the inside and put the smallest number on the outside. You just kind of have to look and see. You have to see what number is first and what number is second. So in your division bracket, the first number goes underneath the division bracket, and then the second number goes on the outside. So that will kind of help you to know what number goes where. Okay, so that means that for our division bracket, we have 0.66 going on the inside and then 0.3 going on the outside. Quick. And then, okay, so the biggest part of division with decimals is you can't divide with a decimal. I know that sounds weird, but I'll explain. So here we have 0.3, and we're going to take this decimal because we can't have it there. We have to have a whole number, and we're going to move it one spot to the right because we're trying to get rid of that decimal. So now we have actually the whole number 3. But the key phrase here, and you're going to hear me say it 100 times over, is whatever you do to the outside, you have to do to the inside. Whatever you do to the outside, you have to do to the inside. So if you do moving the decimal one spot to the right, you have to do the same thing on the inside. Eat your cookies. Sorry, my daughter is telling me about cookies. Okay, so now I'm just going to rewrite this so that the decimals are in the right spot. So really now this problem has turned into 3 divided into 6.6. So we took this and we changed it, we moved the decimals around, mirrored each other from the inside and outside, and now we can actually solve the problem because now we have a whole number on the outside. So now division is exactly normal. 3 goes into 6. 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract, 0 left over. Bring down the 6. 3 goes into 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract and get 0 left over. Then we take our decimal here. What? Eat your cookie. Take our decimal and slide it up into your answer. So you have 2.2. So that looks exactly the same as what we did yesterday. You don't have to eat your cookies. There's crackers too. So this division looks exactly the same from yesterday. The only difference is this part, the moving the decimals at the beginning, and that's the only part that's different. Okay, so we'll do one more example. This one's a little bit bigger, so I wanted to do this one just because we have a good example of a bigger problem with a 2-digit divisor. Because I didn't do many of those yesterday. And we're actually going to spend 2 days on this, so if today things don't sink in and you feel like it's really tough, we're going to spend another day on this, so don't worry about that. Okay, so with division with decimals, we look and we see, okay, we have a decimal on the outside here. We can't have that, so we have to change it to a whole number. Grab the decimal, move it over 2 times this time, because we want to make this an even 15. We don't want to leave it at 1.5 because we can't have any decimals on the outside. Whatever we do to the outside, we have to do to the inside. So we do the same thing to the outside. You want to watch Cocomelon? Oh, I don't know where Spider-Man is. He's right there. So we do the same thing to the inside as we do to the outside. And so now I'll rewrite this here quick. So now, instead of this, we actually have 15 divided by 8,478. So now we have a whole number on the outside, and that's what we need. We can't have a decimal on the outside. You can have a decimal on the inside, it's not a big deal, but we can't have one on the outside. So now we can actually just continue through, because these are two whole numbers. So we have 15, can't go into 8, but it can go into 84. We're probably not sure how many times, so you kind of just want to do some guessing and checking. Let's do, I know that 15 times 6, I think, is 90, so let's do times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Yep, that's as close as we're going to get. So it goes in there 5 times, which is 75, subtract. We'll do some borrowing and regrouping here, so 9 left over. Bring down the 7. I'm going to assume that it's probably pretty close to what we just did, 15 times 5. So maybe we'll try 15 times 6, I think is 90. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So we're pretty close there with the 6. 6 times 15 is 90. Subtract and get 7 left over. And then we'll bring down this last 8, which already here we found this was 75, so I'm going to assume probably that. So probably 5 again. 5 times 15 is 75. We subtract and we get 3 left over. And then this is one of those cases where you can't have remainders, so we have to keep like adding on zeros and dividing to make sure that we don't have anything left over. So we add a 0 to our number, we bring it down. Oops, running out of room there, that's okay. I'll move it here. A little smaller. Ooh, that was weird. Okay. So we added a 0, bring it down. Every time you have remainder, just keep doing that because you can't have leftovers with decimals. So, but this is where it's tricky because we have a decimal still right here. That's where we put it at the end of our answer, like what we did right here. So when you add that 0, you have to remember that that decimal is still there. So now we have 30. 15 goes into 30 2 times. 2 times 15 is 30. We subtract and get 0 left over. And then we just have to remember that this decimal was still there, so we just have to slide it up into our answer. So then our final answer for this question would be 565.2. So I know that one's a longer one, but we won't see a whole bunch of problems like this today. We'll probably see something. Shh. Look at your Spider-Man. So we probably won't see too many problems like this today. We'll probably see more of these tomorrow. But just keep in mind how to do this process and some of those tricks, like adding the 0 and not forgetting about the decimal, because those are things that are hard to remember sometimes. Okay.